You believe in the devil, Father. I'm Daredevil. You believe in the devil, Father. I don't get to choose who I am. My delusion was thinking God had anything to do with it. I'm Daredevil. Not even God can stop that now.
Hello, and welcome to the Daredevil cast. Sit down, pull up a chair, grab a drink, because we're finally sitting down for our meal in Hell's Kitchen. You've just ordered the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. It's finally here. I am joined by my devious co-host, who's also devilishly handsome, but you won't know that because this is an audio podcast. It is, of course...
Me, Nick Staniforth. I'm back from outer space. Well, Hell's Kitchen.
How you doing, mate? You good?
I'm really good, mate. I'm really good. Listeners, I warn you now, if you notice slight inflections in my tone today, it's because my internet seems to be running off Foggy Nelson's life support system. So, yeah, going to be struggling today.
Nick, what the fuck? Christ alive. It's going to be one of them shows.
We're doing a video call, right? And already it's delayed. So what was hilarious was I said that and then I saw Eammon's face be like, oh, bloody hell. It's been I've had a tough day, mate, but not as tough as Foggy Nelson. That's all I'm going to say.
Good Lord. Well, I mean, we may as well just jump right in. Daredevil Born Again picks up a few years after the end of Season 3. The first episode kicks off with Matt, Karen and Foggy leaving their law firm, which is a storefront in New York City, and they head to Josie's bar to celebrate the retirement of Cherry, an NYPD cop. And our story unravels from there as Foggy is called away by a worried client who says that somebody's broken into his apartment. Matt rushes off, to try and help. He's suited up, but realises it's all a ruse because Bullseye is back, and
then it ends there.
Well, he assassinates the fuck out of Foggy Nelson.
No, everyone ends there, Eammon. It ends there, and it goes really well. And then Bullseye goes, "You know what, lads? I think I'm going to call it a day. I don't need to be a hitman anymore. I don't want to kill people on relentless murderous rampage. I think I might finally set up that like little bar that I've always planned to on the beach and just call it a day." And unfortunately, that's obviously where the show ends, which is really surprising that Disney hyped this show up for so much just to show us 10 minutes and then just never carry it on. Nah, joking. It's horrible, isn't it? It's fucking horrible. What a horrible way to start a show.
Yeah, it's pretty savage. I mean, it sort of sets the tone from the outset, really. Like, if you're willing to murder one of your key characters from the original show that you've hyped up, that this is a continuation of, it says a lot. And it's I'd almost go as far to say as spectacularly brutal. He gets shot in the chest and is just bleeding out on the floor. And Karen's trying to, keep him from bleeding out. All the while, Matt is beating the crap out of Bullseye whilst listening to his best friend die from, upstairs, essentially, as this sort of lengthy brawl plays out. And just, I was shocked on the first watch and was just like, oh, we're really going here. Okay, cool, great. Oh no.
How do you think it's been handled, mate? But both on the reaction, because we've had this conversation in the past. Like, I've gone off social media a bit, so I'm not really, my finger's not on much of the pulse as it used to be. I've seen the odd tweet and I've seen the odd meme being like, shit. How do you think it's been handled by audiences, and more importantly, how do you think they handled it in constructing that scene? Because it's just mad.
I think there's still an element of shock in audiences at the minute. I don't think people have quite processed it.
Right.
I think it might be one of those things where, in hindsight, that's when the sort of opinion will be formed, because right now it is just shock of I can't actually believe that they've done that after making such a hype of bringing back Karen and Foggy. because as we know, that wasn't originally the plan. So it does kind of feel a little bit maybe disrespectful, I would borderline say, but I think by and large people are understanding of what Foggy's death is trying to do in terms of the story. But people are clearly like heartbroken still. Like,
yeah, understandably.
The memes are flying. The memes are flying.
How do you feel about it personally?
I'm not 100% sold on it. I think the way it's handled in the show, again, it does feel kind of a little bit disrespectful to the character and to the original show. But I also kind of I understand that for the story they're trying to tell and for Matt to take that step back, this needed to happen. I just think that it was, I don't know, I feel like they could have waited a little bit longer than literally 5 minutes before shooting Foggy in the chest, because I just think it was, I don't know. But equally, I think Foggy has a moment where he sort of, there's a manifesto for the series, as he says before getting shot, that he's not feeling nostalgia, he's feeling reverence for the past and hope for the future. And I feel like that's the whole concept of the show. And particularly in Foggy's death, I feel like that's the point of like, look, this needs to happen so that we can move forward. So yeah, I think I have a complex relationship with Foggy's death at the minute. How about you? What do you think?
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. My argument for it is, I'm sort of like meh about it. If I'm going to be totally honest, I'm not like, I am shocked. It's obviously a massive shocking, like, it's grabbing the audiences by the fucking throat and going, no, this is how serious we are about this. Like, they could, like, not only sort of being serious about bringing like carrying on Daredevil as we know it, but also bringing it into the MCU. Like, this isn't something you would imagine the MCU to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think, but then the argument against that, however, is, you spoke about it when we looked back on season 3 about how, the setup, the obvious sort of setup that Karen was going to get it by Bullseye and doesn't. And it's like with this, the argument could be, I mean, this is me being like, not headcanon, but like stick with me, of one of them's got to go. Do you get what I mean? Like, this is like Karen to Matt Murdock is Uncle Ben to Peter Parker, is Pa Kent in various iterations to Superman. Like, there's got to be a casualty to push him, to propel him to do something, or be in a low point to bring him back up to do what he needs to do. Like, I would be more annoyed now if they kill Karen as well. Which is, and this is my argument of it. Like, so I was doing an article for Flash Film a couple of weeks ago about Laura Barton in the MCU. Obviously, is like, Laura Barton, Mrs. Barton to Clint, goes by the name of Agent 19, but is also, that's an alias of Mockingbird, who is also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But like in the Ultimate Comics like universe, Laura Barton gets murdered, like, brutally, and all the kids die, and it's like, and then you find out who does it, and shock, it's actually Black Widow. But I'm going off the tangent in terms of using the formula, sticking to the formula, but tweaking the ingredients ever so slightly is, I actually think, a sensible thing to do. I do think, there's been reports and there was details regarding the initial sort of concept was that Foggy was going to die a lot later, and to my knowledge was going to be involved in sort of the Muse storyline where Muse kidnapped him, tried to give him, like, asked for his identity. Foggy never gave it up, and as a result dies. That, to me, is more of an interesting story to what they're setting up so far, because I think it's the thing of, like, it's also the issue of, like, sort of replanting the audience's feet back in this universe, but then not giving them enough time familiarise yourself to the point where one of the most valuable characters, like, we fucking love Foggy. We've backed him since day one. You know, some of my favourite moments in the Daredevil series have been Foggy's moments of this is me being a lawyer and I'm really fucking good at my job, right? So to see him just so swiftly go out is like, oh fuck. And it's not a case of like, this is really sad. I'm annoyed because I'm like, he's fucking great. Like, he's such a good actor and it's such a great performance that, like, you know, it's like fucking, I know it's really drastic, like, comparison. Imagine killing Alfred in Dark Knight Rises. Like, that's how it feels, because it's like, we've stuck with this guy. There's been a hiatus where we never thought we'd see him again, and we do see him again, and now he's got fucking 4 slugs in his chest. And he's just like, shit. So yeah, I think it's necessary is not the right word. It's understandable, and I like the idea if they take the route that I hope they take. It is they don't kill Karen in this universe. They've just not killed Karen. They've killed Foggy instead. Because ultimately, they've both been, like, if you look at both universes, they've both been killed by the same villain.
That is very true.
Does that make sense?
Very, very true. Yeah, because in Kevin Smith's Guardian Devil, Bullseye kills Karen in the church. It's the scene in season 3 where Father Lantern dies instead, but it's that in the comics. And then here, Bullseye kills Foggy. That's a really good comparison. I've not picked up on that. God damn it, Bullseye.
I know, yeah. He's just wrecking fools no matter what world he's in, which is a bit wank. Now we've got out of the way the gutting shit. Let's get into the good shit, shall we? How do you know what we're doing? We're going to do like half an hour on the first episode and half an hour on the second.
I feel like that's a good way to approach it, yeah.
Are we heaven and hell in it for both rounds? Heaven and hell in it.
I feel as long as we keep it concise and let's do a little mini heaven and hell section for both eps.
Do you want to go first?
Let's do 2 each.
Yeah, How's 2 that? Each is fine. 2 each is fine.
Sound. Grand. I've got a really small one to start with for our heaven section.
I mean, mate, you don't need to tell us on the podcast, man. I've seen it. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, I really love the Newton Brothers' score right at the start of this episode, when it's establishing New York, and it's kind of twinkly, it's kind of mysterious. There's like an element of hope in there, matched with the visuals of New York. So you get these like really interesting zooms on the sort of skyline, on just like the lights in the streets, and then that sort of brings you into the street where sort of Matt, Karen, and Foggy are walking out of their law firm, and there's just an element of like, well, it is the element of return. It's still feels similar to the original show, but it does feel new. Again, it's that whole idea of pushing forward but reverence for the past. If anything, there's a brief shot where it kind of comes through two colours of red and blue, and instantly it reminded me of that shot that we really liked in season 2 in the Indian restaurant with all the little dangly lights. It just kind of was ever so slightly reminiscent of that. I just thought it was like kind of minutely beautiful, but like not too much. And there's kind of like a film graininess added over the top of like the entire cinematography, which visually I really enjoy. It just makes it stand out a little bit more from the usual sort of grey lack of colour in the MCU that has been often criticised. But yeah, so I really liked that just as an opening. I thought it was really nice, especially, you know, in contrast to the bloody mayhem that occurs afterwards. And then my second is actually, I don't know, minutes after what I've just mentioned, is when Karen and Matt are in the bar having a conversation just as Foggy's gone outside, and there's an aspect ratio change that focuses in on Matt's ear as he's listening to
just
Foggy's
sort of
phone
little
call,
lens flare,
and it just sort of zooms in. It's like the Jaws shot, where it's like, I can't remember what the actual technique is called.
It's reverse, it's a reverse zoom
on Matt as everything else. Reverse zoom. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's such a nice little, just a visual flair that I was like, oh, that's good. I'm a sucker for an aspect ratio change anyway, so like, for anybody that doesn't know what I'm referring to, like the two black like boxes on your screen. This zooms in and gets rid of those black boxes and makes use of your entire screen just for that shot. And I was like, oh, that's spicy. I loved it.
It reminded me, and I can't think of what sort of game it was, but it reminds me of a video game. It reminds me of it's almost like a QuickTime event because as it comes up on the screen, I was like, no, Nick, don't touch the screen. But it was, I know you've talked, you've always argued the case. You love a Daredevil game, and I'm like, this feels like a Daredevil game. Yeah. This feels like if you were just sat in a bar and he was tilting his head this way and that, and it's like zooming on that area. I was like, this is fucking great, man. This is really clever. Yeah, I agree. It was such a nice touch, and it was just, I think. It also, and not intentionally, it was one moment where I always thought to myself, we've seen it in previous seasons, particularly when the accident happens and he can't switch it off. I'm just like, God, that must be so annoying just to hear everything all the time. Do you know what I mean? Your brain is constantly just firing on all cylinders. It just, and you can't close your eyes because you can't see anything, so it makes no difference. But it just, no, but you know what I mean? It was just it's just how do you? I think that's one interesting detail with this is that I'd love someone to have that conversation with him and be like, how do you switch it off? Do you ever switch it off? Because he's always listening at the right time, obviously, but it was just it was that particular moment. I was like, fuck me, this must be a pain in the arse to have. Amazing skill, but just, do you know what I mean? Am I just I don't know, it was weird, but yeah.
I mean, because that would do, how does he sleep? Right? That would do my head in.
He's got to get. He's got loops made from shield, just adamantium loops that he just sticks in there. And they're not budging. Cool. But then ninjas are after him all the time, so he's got to have. Does he have one out all the time? It's just a nuisance. I feel sorry for him. That and his mate's dead. What a nightmare of a week he's having.
I know, right? But yeah. But moving on to my hell section. I mean, the CGI in this scene, to contrast the little bit that I just loved, the CGI of the fight in Josie's, good God, it pissed me off. I think the problem is we've been spoilt for 3 seasons of these huge, impressive practical stunts, oneers that are just technically brilliant. And then with this, we get this weird... Look, okay, we've bitched about the fact that we don't get to see Daredevil swinging with his billy clubs. We get that, and obviously that's CG'd. I'm not complaining about that because that would be really hard to pull off in the middle of New York because they filmed in actual New York City. So I get that. My issue is the actual fight in Josie's. They've CGI'd over the top of Wilson Bethel and Charlie Cox's stunts. And I'm like, why have you done that? They were there. They were doing the stunts. It didn't need enhancing. And then obviously it's because Bullseye throws the gas canister or whatever. And I was just like, why are we covering this up? The silhouettes don't look great in the fight. If it was just completely... If it was lit up differently and you could properly see the silhouettes, I could more understand that. But they just don't look great. Obviously, once that fight goes into the stairs, it gets a bit more interesting because it's claustrophobic. But I was just like, why are we CGIing this from the get-go? This combined with killing Foggy is gonna not exactly buy the goodwill that you need.
No, I suppose. But then, would you say there's a possibility that it literally probably comes down to? I don't know. Would you argue that because it is a oneer of sorts, right?
It is a oneer of sorts.
Because essentially we've got 3 sections. We've got outside Josie's, we've got the main bar, we've got the back end of it where they shut the screen doors, then you've got the staircase. So 4 sections. So would you say that they've thrown that in because to sort of, because you got to think it doesn't go in that order. It goes in and out quite a bit. So with that, we are talking about a scenario we don't get paid enough to make ourselves. But when you compare that to the season 1 hallway scene, it is one essentially dark green hallway with nothing else
Yeah.
With nothing else, like, you know, to not distract, but like, there's no other complications to it. It's like 3 guys in that room, 2 guys in that room. You're all gonna. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's dominoes, right? With this one, I think they tried so much. There's so many extras. There's so many different dynamics going on. You've just got. It's like everything turned up to 100, and as a result, it probably makes sense that they were like, "Fuck, we need to dress this up because if we're going to go into the bar and then go back out of the bar and then go back into the bar, how are we going to cover up our tracks? Let's throw a fucking smoke grenade in." Now, you're right. I mean, would you argue the case that if this had a bigger budget and was a film, would they have handled this better?
Yes, I believe so.
You know, sorry, in my head I've just thought, you know what would have been really good as well as an alternative is if they'd done it like, you know, the John Wick fire dragon's breath sequence. Because then you
from the top
then you
down.
could just had it looking down, the constant thing.
Oh, that'd been good. Oh, that'd be good. I'd like to pay you $5.99 for my Nick Staniforth subscription service that now has the rights to this version of Daredevil. Because I want to see that. That'd be great. Yeah, if you saw it from the top down and saw them fighting in the bar and then moving up the stairs and onto the roof. Yeah. Good God, that'd been cool. Yeah. But we didn't get that, so...
I'm so sorry. Like, my continuing trend of going, this is a better idea. But yeah,
not to inflate your ego or anything.
But I see what you mean, mate. But I don't know. I think for me, I think the sort of structure and the drama was the biggest draw for me. So I was more distracted by that than what was going on. And it was the great sort of such a brilliant and like stupidly obvious detail of like whilst he's fighting Bullseye, he can just hear Karen screaming. And it's like it's just drifting in and out. Like when she goes up the stairs, she's like, "Stay with me, stay with me." And you're just like, "This is." And again, it goes back to what I'm talking about of like it encapsulates everything about the curse of being Daredevil. He can't stop listening to it. Like if that was me or you, and we're 2 flights of stairs up from a,
you're not going to hear it.
You're not going to hear it, and he can't switch it off, and that's, you know. It just, it encapsulates everything that's wrong with it. That's shit about being Daredevil. But brilliantly,
alongside the Catholic guilt and the dead friends. And But the hearing and not being able to sleep is the, you know.
Yeah.
My other final bit of the hell section for this episode. I've got to say, I was really not a fan of the Heather Glenn introduction and the way that Kirsten like tricked Matt into going on a date. I was like, what is this? Is this now a rom-com? Like, I'm sorry, that felt more like something out of She-Hulk. And again, I'm not about to start bashing on She-Hulk, you know that.
Tonally different.
Tonally so different. I was like, I don't need this, like, oh, I thought we were coming for legal rep. Oh, I thought you needed therapy. Well, true, he probably does need therapy, but that's not the point. The date itself, I was like, cringe.
He's a blind lawyer that can't see where his life's going. She's a dizzy therapist that can't sort her head out. Together, they'll fucking do nothing because there's no chemistry there whatsoever.
Oh, do not get me started on that. Good God. Like, I don't want to instantly sort of berate a new love interest, but like she's so wooden it hurts. Like I don't get any level of like an interesting dynamic out of the two of them whatsoever. The one line I did like was when she was like, "Oh,
yeah, she knows I don't date lawyers."
Oh, really?
Yeah, your hours suck and you argue everything.
Okay, it's kind of a sweeping generalization.
See what I mean?
Okay, fine, that was good. I appreciated that. But the date itself was just awkward. Yes, first dates are awkward, but it was just a bit naff. I didn't need that in this episode.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, we may as well admit now that we have both seen the entire season. However, I think it's important to note that we're not going to tease anything that we know better for further down the line.
No, not at all.
You know, we'll talk about theories and stuff and how things might play out. But we're not going to, if we do that, we're not going to be like, and this might happen, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because that's not fair. We wouldn't do that to you. But yes, we have seen the entire season.
We get that that Matt's got to go through this journey. Like, he's on his own. It's 1 year later. A nice little Avengers nod. He's, you know, solemn and fucking miserable because his bestie's died and all that shit. And Karen's like, you know, trying to make the effort, but she's fucked off to San Francisco. Like, I think what makes it even worse for Heather, it makes it a harder job for Heather as a character to become someone worth being invested in, is that we've already lost a key point and a favourite point of the previous seasons, and now the other one is nowhere to be seen. It's like, she is obviously, but she's just not as prominent as you want her to be, and it's like, you know, could she still be around, and there could be, you know, still friction, and she's working elsewhere. She might have gone back to the Bulletin, and as a result, like, it could have created an interesting love triangle of some sort. But at the moment, it's just like, well, Karen's not even on the scene, and this is just like, you're taking away. It's like, not home comforts, but you know what I mean? Like, just the elements that ultimately you have gone back for. As much as we talk about, oh, isn't it great to see Charlie Cox snap someone's arm? Like, those are great, but it's like, you know, the most unspoken and important element to any action scene or any bit of thrills or danger or peril is that the characters connected to it you give a shit about. And so far, you've permanently, potentially, like, we don't know. Like, they've said, Brad Vanderbaum was interviewed by Brandon Davis this week, and he said that they're both back in season 2. So it's like, right, okay, well, one of you's dead, so that's going to be impressive. But, like, the other one that was just like, you know, that is regardless of the grisly. Well, she's Spider. She's the Gwen Stacy for Daredevil. Karen is. Yeah. And it's like, it's like, give him something, man. Like, give him a fucking break and have it be someone he can lean on, not some random therapist there's just nothing there. There's just, like, I don't believe it for an instant. As soon as they met, I was like, nah, I'm not buying this. Like, don't get me wrong. Fucking hell, Charlie Cox could probably, like, smooth talk me into bed.
Wouldn't be hard.
I would be. But like, they're chatting in the coffee shop. I'm just like, oh man, like,
it's painful.
You could be, and I don't mean it disrespectfully. You could be any woman. You could be anyone. You could literally be anyone in a coffee shop queue, and you could walk out and never see her again. But it's like, you know, I'm gonna get a number. Can I get a number just to apologise? I'm like, oh, fuck off, Matt. What are you doing? But yeah, oh god, yeah. So yeah, I partially agree with what you said. In a nutshell.
Yeah, just partially. But what about your heaven and hell section? Good sir.
My heaven section. So I would say my heaven section to begin with. You know what? It's the fucking intro. I love the intro. I think the intro is fucking sick. I think it's a sort of not upgrade, but sort of taken key little elements of the one we absolutely love, and yes, thank God they've kept it. But I love that whole idea. I think I messaged you when I first saw it. It's like a Bond intro. It's a Bond intro. Like if that was Daniel Craig stood there and not some twat in a horny hat, you'd be none the wiser. But like the symbolism of it all falling apart and then like everything coming back together and it's him stood there and I was like, this is fucking quality. Yeah, it's like a Bond intro and I love a Bond intro, so that's great. Not really much more to say on that, mate. Would you agree? Are you a fan of it? What do you think?
I would agree. I am a fan of it. It took me a minute to come round. At first, I was a little bit like, I do want the original, but then as soon as you hear those sort of the key motif, that plays through it, I was like, I like it. It's again, it comes back to that. It's new and old at the same time. Yeah. It still feels unique to this show. And the imagery is cool. The imagery is really cool. Yeah. And I think you're right. It's probably gonna, have more meaning than we expect.
Yeah. It's also probably, when you really look at every other intro we've ever had for an MCU show, it is the best one by far. Can you even think of one?
Shit. Yeah. The only other one I can think of is WandaVision because there's so many.
Yes, true.
but that's fun in its own. Again, that's unique. This is what it comes down to. It's unique.
Yes.
It's not just bang title card.
No, because I think Miss Marvel was just that, right? Miss Marvel was just like, yeah, and then we had that really good Secret Invasion title sequence that everyone loved, and was definitely not made by robots,
and definitely didn't cause controversy.
No, but yeah, so I love that. What else did I love for the first episode? Mate, it's fucking Daredevil slash Heat diner scene. For so many elements to it, so many elements. You know, we talked about it when we first saw the trailer. Matt keeping his hands under the table, Kingpin sort of not leaning over, but being like, I'm in control of the situation. Also, is there anything more disturbing than Wilson Fisk, like belly laughing, full on belly laughing? Didn't like it. Wasn't a fan.
No.
But then
absolutely terrifying.
But then it's also this brilliant sort of brilliant display of both of these guys. As much as they are trying to move on, the other one is pushing them further back into what they used to, just because of their existence. They're not, you know, Matt says to him, he's like,
So if you say to me that you're a new man, I say fine. But you should know I was also raised to believe in retribution. So if you step out of line, I will be there.
The Heat conversation is iconic of De Niro and Pacino. They just sat talking about dreams and doing nothing, and then eventually it becomes, you know, if you get in my way, I will fucking take you out. And it's the same exact sort of thing of like, you know, Fisk talking about, I once had a protege that I was trying to mould and sort out, and he's just like, did she shoot you in the head? And it's like, and they're both just like, like they're laughing, and it's like, this is so unnerving because it's so alien, because these two guys have literally been at each other's throats for years, and now they're just like, you know, you've moved up in the world, yeah, so have you, like, how's life? Yeah, not bad. Like,
there's a weird, like, kind of level of mutual respect.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of, I don't think either of them would like to admit that clearly from this conversation.
No, of course
like
not.
there's a level of, like you say, you've moved up in the world. And I think this is another element that gets to sort of what the series is trying to do. It's like, it's trying to add things that we've not seen before in the context of Daredevil. So humour with Kingpin and Daredevil in the same scene is, again, how do you, I would have loved to have been in the writer's room when somebody went, hey, should we have him like make a joke? And because to me, I'm like, why would you do that? That is bizarre. And yet it does actually kind of work.
Well, that's the thing as well. Like, the punchline of that is they both laugh, because they could have both. They've both had digs at each other across 3 seasons. The jokes that they don't laugh at, but we do. So to see them both do it, you're just like, what the fuck is going on? like, I don't like this at all. When's one of them going to flip the table? What'd you say about Vanessa?
You embarrassed me in front of Vanessa.
But yeah, it's so good, and it's like, you know, as much as we've talked about how it's shit that we've lost we've potentially permanently lost something that we were really looking forward to seeing again, and another one's just fucked off for a bit. Like, these two were always at the top of the table of the biggest draws of what we loved about this show, is these two just chewing scenery. And it's like, as a potential, if it's okay, as like a little honourable mention of my heaven section, we talked about how last season, like season 3, of Daredevil, is like Charlie Cox has mastered Matt Murdock, like from top to bottom, from his highest points to his lowest points, to his like, to that man without fear element where they're talking, and it's like, just seeing Charlie Cox crack a smile as Matt Murdock, that's like, I am regularly underestimated, which we'll get into, because part of it leads into my heaven section for episode 2, but it's just so good to just see him so comfortable in it, like it's his now. And like, you know, they've said, so many people have said, and we've said time and time again, like, there are no other actors I can imagine playing these roles, but more so with Charlie Cox. It's just so, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So that like when he really does go, I enjoy him going more full Matt than full Daredevil, because it's that like, it's that like charm and that like you know, again, I go back to the Bond comparison. He's got swagger about him. Like it's not as like prominent as Bond's, I would say, but it's like it's there. There's like a hint of like, we've talked about in the past. He's a swashbuckler. He is a blind swashbuckler, and it's just this conversation is just like, you know, even the brief moment of the Fisk supporter coming up to the window, and they both just look at each other and like, and Murdoch just sort of smiles at him like, like what the you know, like you know. It's just like, oh, a fan I see. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of, it's the with any great performance, it's the unspoken moments that are sometimes the best, and you can't even say that like it's him passing glances with Matt because he's always got fucking glasses on. but you know what I mean? There's just that little tick, that little bit of flair that Charlie Cox delivers is it's perfect. So yeah, that whole conversation is brilliant.
Now, tell me if there's anything you didn't like.
I don't like Vanessa's introduction back into this.
Oh, okay.
I understand.
My close personal friend, Isla Zura.
I understand. I don't want to embarrass myself, but like I understand what they're trying to sell, and I understand that there's a rift between the two now, and that's fine. But like, it's just something about it that I was like, I don't like this. I can't put my finger on what it is. I think it's because I had issue with in the third season. She was just like all aboard the fucking criminal empire train, and I think it's that. I think there was no like, she was on board 100%. So it's even more, so with here it's like 120. I'm like, oh, you are just fucking running the joint now. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. It's
quite a forced entry into the scene as well. It's like, it's just bang, she's controlling all the crime lords in this like conversation. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and like there's been nothing, and also there's been nothing. She can say like season 3, she can say she wants to be in it, but she still had to earn that position. And it's like, you know, we talked about it going all the way back to season 1, the gap between childhood and adulthood of Wilson Fisk. That is the most interesting element. What has happened to Vanessa for her to become an even colder, keen criminal empress to be involved?
She does definitely seem colder in this. Yeah. In the few scenes of the first episode and the second, she does definitely seem colder. She was definitely warmer in the original show. But
then you sort of can make the argument going, oh, you know, because of what's happened, what we don't know what's happened with Fisk, like they've fallen out as she become more shut down. That's fine, but like, you know, and almost the on the nose of course she's wearing white. She is the new Kingpin. Like, I get it. But like, there's just nothing, and she doesn't have any like muscle. Do you know what I mean? She doesn't have a right hand person. Like, I don't know. I just want more to go. How have you got here? Because, okay, I'm on board. Like, you know, that this sort of other side to Fisk is still being run, as much as he's almost trying to detach himself from it, is what I got from the first episode. Like, he's legitimately trying, and I think that's one thing that works and that adds to the more almost like surrealist sort of reintroduction to him and Matt, is they are both trying to pull themselves away, but it's what's funny is Fisk is doing a better job of it. Like, would you agree, or am I just misinterpreting that?
No, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's interesting that she's taken over, compared to just like, I don't know, one of the tracksuit mafia guys or just one of the other groups in New York. I do think it's interesting that she has managed to sort of stay on top and keep Kingpin's empire rolling and has turned it into her own. But like you say, I think there needs to be a little bit of something to explain how she's actually done that.
Yeah.
Not just by saying, all right, I'm in charge. Like, how has she cemented that as her position in New York?
And because then, I mean, obviously the sort of obvious, easy get out, as it were, is, you know, I'm Wilson Fisk's wife. Like,
Yeah.
that's all you need. But it's like, right, but I don't know.
Bit boring, isn't it?
Bit boring, yeah. Do you know what I mean? She needs to like earn her stripes. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think she has.
This is a woman who just used to be an art dealer. Not just used to be. I'm
Yeah.
sure that was a difficult position to make money from. But like, you know, that's quite a step to being full blown gangster.
Yeah. So that was just I was just a bit iffy with that. What's my other hell bit? What is my other hell bit? Oh God. Oh God. Right. Eamon.
Nick.
I love The Sopranos.
I know where you're going with this.
I love it.
I also love The Sopranos.
I love The Sopranos. James Gandolfini, what a legend. Michael Gandolfini, brilliant in The Many Saints of Newark. He's a fucking shit weasel in this show so far. He's just
slimy.
He's just, but not good at slimy. Do you know what I mean? Like there have, you know, if you think of top tier TV shows, right, and you think of like absolute TV shit weasels, you think of Joffrey, right? You think of
You think of Ben Linus from Lost.
Yes, yeah, or even the fucking wanky guy in She-Hulk who gets hulked. Like, but I would say that performance so far is on level with this, where I'm just like, you're just a shit weasel, and like you're not on the level with everyone else, and that's what annoys me a little bit. Like it's almost panto-like. Like, it's like, you know what it is? He's fucking Randall from Recess.
Oh shit, it's Randall from Recess.
like, clip that. But like, he's just like, he's ratting people, not ratting people out, but like, I bet you're going to rat people out. Do you know what I mean? Like, not, I don't know how to say it. Like, this is, and that's not spoiler, by the way. Like, it's hard to articulate. Like, if he's just Weasley, but sort of comically Weasley in a show that's a lot more serious, and I just don't like it. And I'm like, and also I don't believe that Fisk would spot him in a crowd. Do you know what I mean? He's surrounded by all these, you know, well-versed, like, highly informed people that have been doing that, you know, that are older than older than Michael Gandolfini's character, Daniel Blake. Like, there is no reason he would pick him out. Like, Fisk is too smart for that. Do you get what I mean? Like, I just didn't like it, and I don't like him, and I just think like he's not bringing me anything. I don't watch him and go in. I don't go, I hope you get it, but I also, like, I'm just not interested. And I'm just like, oh, this is a shame. Like, you've got a lot of capability. He's really good in The Deuce, which was another David Simon series from the guy that made The Wire, with James Franco playing twins and stuff. But he's in it. He's only in it a few seasons, but he's good. And he's good in Many Saints of Newark. Admittedly, yeah, he's basically doing a fucking impression of his dad, which you'd imagine he's pretty good at. But like, there's just nothing to him. I'm just like, you're just a fucking sleaze, and I don't like you, and I don't care what, like, I don't care what happens to you. Straight away, I just don't care. But yeah, I just think he's a bit wanky.
That's fair. I do think that's part of the point of his character. They are trying to make him Weasley, but equally that doesn't make for enjoyable scenes with him.
You can be a smart weasel and still be interesting, and he's just a weasel. He is just Randall from Recess. Like,
he is just Randall from Recess.
And Wilson Fisk is Miss Finster. But yeah, so
oh, that's horrifying imagery.
You've embarrassed me in front of Principal Brickley. But yeah, why do I have all this Recess information still in my head? But yeah, I know, right? But yeah, so that's it. That's my hell section.
Okay, should we move on to episode 2?
Yaha, refresh me memory, Eamon. What happened in episode 2?
Oh, okay, so episode 2 introduces Hector Ayala, also known as White Tiger, who is a vigilante who gets his powers from a mystical amulet. But much like Matt Murdock, though, he dresses up in a costume and beats the shit out of criminals in the dead of night. However, in episode 2, he stumbles upon two people roughing up somebody on a subway platform. He steps in to help and accidentally pushes somebody in front of a train. Now, this guy, gets turned into a smoothie straight away. And then it's revealed, oh shit, these two guys picking on this random civilian are actually NYPD officers, which is a little bit problematic because he then kills one by accident. And famously, the police don't really like it when you kill one of their own. So episode 2 focuses heavily on Hector's story and how Matt steps in to defend him after hearing him getting the snot beaten out of him in a police station. And obviously there are some interesting parallels there, former vigilante stepping in to defend current vigilante, and how that plays out. These are two guys that have alter egos, that have, they have a call to action, they have a strong sense of what's right and wrong, but how does that play out in a courtroom? Now, Nick, you've previously said that you quite like courtroom dramas.
I do.
What did you think of this episode? What did you like? What did you dislike? Take me through your heaven and hell section.
Courtroom bit's alright. It's just alright. You know what I mean?
Just alright.
Eamon,
okay.
Eamon, I miss Foggy. I miss Foggy so much. I miss him so much. It's great. It's alright. What do I like about it? I like the presence of the police, even though it's a bit like, he's going to prison. I'm like, oh, fucking, give him a fucking break. You've been backing vigilantes for ages, you lot. You love vigilantes. They save your job. Well, they don't save your job. They make your job easier. But, yeah, mate, it's okay. I don't think I left it as sort of satisfied with it as I have in previous seasons. It's not as there was more of in the previous seasons like a fluidity to them, like Matt's a bit. You could argue he's a bit rusty because he's got all this shit to deal with. That's fair, but it's just not as
snappy.
Yeah, I'm not like, go on, Matt, get him. I'm just like, yeah.
I think
that's
partly down to the execution of the scenes, because I feel like previously they were very we're doing a courtroom drama, whereas here it feels more like a procedural. I could see this in, I don't know, and maybe not Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that feels a little bit too on the nose and too funny, but that type of thing. Does that make sense? Law and Order.
Yeah,
it's just a prestige show.
Yeah, it's just I think it's just a bit safe within the lines. It stays within the lines a bit too much, and it's just not. We know Matt's such a good fucking lawyer, so hammer it, nail this, they're like, oh fuck, they brought the hawk in, and I'm like, all right.
Who's that?
Who's this prick? I don't know. I don't know. Heaven section, top of the table, is again not just Matt breaking people, but in normal standard, I'm not even in my gear and I'm dead hard, Murdoch mode. But it's just, again, it's this. You had a small little heaven section in episode 1. My small heaven section in episode 2 is the police turning up and Matt just stood there like, hi. I bet you're wondering why I'm here. And he's just so he's just fucking great. He's not when you look at sort of stick with me, a long train of thought we're about to jump on. When you think of one of my favourite Bruce Wayne moments in all the Batman films is Christian Bale getting his car absolutely wrecked. And he's sat there and they're like, did you not see you hit? And he's like, why? Was there anyone important? And it's and then they both look at each other and it's just like, oh, fucking Bruce Wayne, you son of a gun. But those are the moments, because it's like we so rarely see them in their daylight identities that when they have their little moments, they're so much more rewarding, because it's like we're in on the secret. So when three guys walk into a room and there's a blind dude stood there with a cane and he's like, "Hi," and it's just like it's
what am I like?
What am I like? What is he? And one of the police officers says like, "Oh, was there a guy in here?" And he's like, "You're gonna have to be a bit more specific. I'm visually impaired." It's just like, this is so good. But those are those moments where it's like really, it goes. We always talk about the whole superhero thing of 9 times out, more often than not, their superhero identity is their main identity, and their true identity is the fake one. Like Matt selling that he is quote unquote blind and like isn't able to absolutely deck these guys, which he proceeds to do with expert efficiency, and it's fucking sick. And we're like, "Oh, we're back!" Like, but it's just it's the build up. I think it's like it's like any sort of cell of an action hero or it's a completely other end, like big end of the fucking spectrum. It's Thor arriving in Wakanda and being like, "Oh, you guys are screwed now." It's that. Like 3 guys turn up, Matt stood there, and you're like, we know only one person is leaving this premises without the need for medical attention, and he might need a bit, but not as much. And it's just mint, and I just love it, and it's just great. I think I'd say those both my heaven sections. His cheeky little smile and him just fucking dismantling 3 individuals. Yeah, it's great.
Dismantling that guy's elbow.
Oh, mate, it's just so, and then he does his little roar at the end and he just does the hard cut to the credits. I'm like, oh, yeah, fucking good on that. Yeah, so, yeah, it's bro. My hell section. I would preferred this episode just because he's great. Like, I'm so sorry, I've got the name guy the guy that played White Tiger. What's his name?
Camar de los Reyes. I've probably butchered that to a horrendous degree.
Like,
but yes.
As soon as he turns up, like their conversation in prison.
What a performance!
Like so like quiet. There's such a quietness to him. There's such like a stillness to him, so that when you see him, like it's almost a weird sell of like. We meet him at the train station first, and then Matt has the chat with him at the police station, and it's like, wow, these could be 2 different people, because he's chill as fuck, and he's just had the shit kicked out of him as well, and it's just great, and like, it's such a loss, man. Like, I did not even know this guy existed before this show started, and as soon as he's turned up, I'm like, you're sound, like you're brilliant. I want more of you, and I can't wait to see more of you in this show. But I think, yeah, It's so sad, man. And
Camar de los Reyes passed away before Daredevil Born Again came out. He had cancer, and like you say, it is such a loss, because his performance in this episode is brilliant. Like you say, there's a quietness to him, and yet when he's in court, that anxiety. The bloke is practically shaking because he's just like, I'm so just not with it. Where's my wife? She's not here. Great, I'm on my own.
Yeah.
And you can see how isolated he feels and how he clearly feels guilty over the fact that, yes, he did accidentally kill this policeman, but he knows full well that he was defending himself and he was defending this person from somebody who was potentially corrupt.
Yeah.
So there's all these complex emotions that come through in this guy's face who is just like wet with sweat. He's absolutely terrified and yet still maintains a level of composure. Just what a performance.
Brilliant, man. It's so good. Yeah, it's just fucking tragic. In regards to my hell section, question for the judge, right? Has it ever happened in the history of the Daredevil cast so far that a hell section or a heaven section has been used more than once? Like,
yeah, we've both gone. Oh yeah, that's in mine. Lol.
No. As in, like, basically, mate. Daniel Blake's going to my bell section for both episodes. He's just a fucking fanny, man. I can't stand him. I don't like it. But then on top of that, I think what's a little bit annoying is the inclusion or almost lack thereof of BB Urich. Like, I feel as soon as she turns up, we don't know if she knows. You don't know, but they know. We know. We don't know if she knows Fisk. We don't know if she knows that Fisk killed her dad. Uncle. Sorry. And I'm just like, if she does, there's no tension here. And I'm like, you know, he has this, you know, he does have that moment of like, oh, I knew your father. I'm like, yeah, you got real fucking close and personal with that guy. like, yeah, you had a hands-on sort of experience with Ben Urich, didn't you? And we, you know, you talked about it. It is one of the most fucking terrifying moments in the entire series of last season, of the Netflix run. So to see these two together, I don't know. I was just like, I don't know.
It doesn't carry as much weight as it should do,
right? Like, even no matter what they're selling, there should be some underlining bit of tension, regardless. Fisk should be like, you know, we talked about this episode in the last episode of Daredevil Born Again, where he's trying to sort of get himself back on the straight and narrow, and here's this big nugget of a really terrible moment in his life. Well, one of many. Like, fucking hell, if he ever gets someone gets out of the back door of a fucking Range Rover, then he'll have flashbacks to that as well. But like, spoilers, that doesn't happen. Like, he's not episode 7. He's not in a car dealership. Be like, but like, there's just nothing. There should be at least a bit of tension between the two, and there just wasn't. And I was just a bit like, oh, you're setting this up for something, and I hope it goes somewhere, because so far you're not really doing anything with it. And I was expecting. So I wrote a piece about her as well, about how, like, you know, it's kind of cool that they're keeping a Urich in the series, but it's not him, and it's fine. But it's like, be your uncle's niece, man. Be fucking press him. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I just, like, as soon as Ben turns up, you're like, you're the fucking cool seasoned news reporter that's asking the hard questions. And all right, you know, he's got age on his side. She's an up and comer. She's using those great little. We've talked about it in like Conversations 101. The great little vignettes of BB. What's her program called?
The BB Report. I loved those. They're such a nice little touch.
You know, and it does add that sort of realism to the show and grounds. And they're out of Hell's Kitchen now. They are, quote, moving up on the world, and they've gone past it. And as a result, with the sort of MCU world, it's good that they're using these little moments, because this is what this is a little added detail that helps ground the show, because it's interviewing real people, quote unquote. But like,
it's a show within a show almost, and I love that that's a detail of, like you say, grounding it in a way that's relatable. Of like, this is what people on the ground actually think about Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, becoming mayor. I loved that. Yeah,
and it's not your bog standard. News reports today revealed like, it's not an info dump of like a stagey wanky news report. It's like we've said, it's the added realism. And I compared it to, it's like the Spider-Man game. It's swinging around during missions and hearing J. Jonah on the radio talking to people that are either against or for Spider-Man. It adds that added element of like, this is a living, breathing city with real people in it that may or may not become prominent, as the series progresses. Like, it's not like a,
you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
This is just a nice little detail. So I'm like, so with that, I was like, oh, this is cool. So she knows what she's doing. She's a clever journalist. Fucking go straight in, just gun him for it. Like, as soon as he says, oh, I knew your dad, she's not like, how'd you know him?
Uncle.
Oh, sorry, uncle. Yeah, I knew your uncle. Like, how'd you know him? How'd you know my uncle? Like, when did you meet him?
Yeah.
What happened? When did you see him last? Like, can you just hold your hand up 2 seconds? Let me just, like...
measure your fingers. Please.
Yeah, I've got like handprints of my uncle's broken neck that I just thought I'd compare. But like, and then as well, and then it doesn't help that we've got fucking Daniel Belland in the background being like, "Oh, go, I should have brought her in." You're like, just come on, do you fucking ask the good questions? So hopefully she'll do more as the show progresses. But I was just like, as a first meeting, and like as Fisk's sort of problem list is growing a little bit, I would have been like, this would have been a great little addition. I'd been like, fucking hell. Not only have I got a fucking criminal mastermind of a missus and my ex fucking rival that tried to put me in prison twice is back, but not quite. I've got the fucking niece of the bloke I strangled in his own house in my office. Being May as shit. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I feel like we're on the same page in terms of like adding White Tiger in. But there's a moment in the courtroom scenes that I really appreciated. And it's like the interesting legal aspects of superheroism. Kind of in a similar way to like She-Hulk. But like there's a moment when basically Matt has to argue that because Hector didn't have his mystical amulet that lets him become White Tiger, he uses that as a legitimate legal defense so that he can get any mention of White Tiger and vigilantism being disregarded in court. That's Matt Murdock being a fucking lawyer, mate, and it's just sick. And it's only like, it's a 2-minute scene, if that. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and I think it is funny to have this like sort of straight-faced like court session and be like, but yeah, Your Honour, his mystical amulet. You're like, oh fuck yeah, I forgot about the mystical amulet. Those bloody mystical amulets, fucking get them everywhere. Yeah, but yeah, good. Yeah, I like that.
And then my second heaven moment is as soon as Fisk encounters a problem in the mayor's office, he just reverts back to being a gangster. So when the commissioner tries to resign, he's like, "No, I don't think you will. Here's some blackmail."
Yeah.
And he's navigating his mayorship, as a mob boss, which, it is a fascinating concept, and that's why this whole storyline has come about anyway. But I just think, he sort of has this line where he's like, any man can be swayed by a piece of paper. And I was like, ooh, nice little line. I just liked that Fisk is operating in a very different way, but also a very, very similar way to how we know. It's just the context of it is great.
Well, it's also it's making the obvious. Well, I say obvious. Do you think it's making an obvious statement? Because as this show progresses, are we going to see Fisk become more and more closely related to current issues? Right? Because when you're saying, oh, he just reverts back to his old ways, I'm like, standard, innit, in government. Let's be real. You don't think like. Eammon, you're not a naive young man. You really don't think blackmail is going to be a regular thing in government? Like, let's be real. Like, when he's like, "Oh, I've got a blooming paper," he's like, a commissioner's like, "Fucking, that's my second bit of blackmail this week. I can't get out of this fucking job." But yeah, no, I get it, and it is great that it's, as much as we can see, and I do love it, and I do love that it's a recurring thing of Fisk legitimately looking like he's trying to go straight, reverted back to being like, "Oh God, this would be so much easier if there's just a little bit of blackmail included." And it's no different to like Murdoch being like, "Fuck, I could take these 3 guys down a lot easier if I had my trusty billy club, but I've just got a cane." Like, it's just, it is cool though. I agree. Yeah, it's a nice thing. Where's your hell bits at? Where we going?
So I've only actually got one bit in my hell section, and it's in contrast to the final fight, which is sick. Like, it's bone-crunchingly sick.
Yeah.
It's, watching him take down those 3 is so much fun. Like, because you can see it's the first time that he's done that for a while.
Yeah.
Like, he is absolutely kicking the shit out of them, but he's also getting the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah. Well, it's the trigger, isn't it? Like, the blood is like, oh, it's like you've made him mad now. Like, like ultimately, without being stupid, like, they've drawn first blood. Like, he wasn't going to do anything, but now you've poked him, and it gets back to, and the end shot of him just screaming is like, "Fuck!" Like, I was having a really good day. Now I've knocked 3 guys out.
It comes back to that allegory we made, a couple of episodes ago. Matt Murdock is an addict.
Yeah.
And him relapsing, he's like, fuck, don't do that.
Yeah.
But the actual moment that kind of pissed me off a bit was when, even though it's cool, he slams that cop into the floor in such a way that his neck looked like it went 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And I was like, did he just kill him?
Yeah.
The start of the first episode, we had him push Bullseye off the roof, and I get that. That was he tried to kill Bullseye, which was part of the reason of him stepping back and being like, I can't be Daredevil, I tried to kill someone. But for him to make the same mistake in his first fight back, to then just like slam this dude into the floor, I was like, what are you doing, Matt? Like, this is just a random cop. Like, this is not Bullseye, this is not Kingpin, this is not whoever. Like, it's just a normal dude who, yeah, fine, could be corrupt and is clearly misappropriating the Punisher symbol, but fine, we'll get to that another time. What the fuck are you doing trying to break this guy's neck?
Yeah.
Because it ends, obviously, like you said, with the scream, and you're like, is that, for me, I interpreted that as like, is he screaming because A, he's been forced to relapse into becoming Daredevil, or is he screaming because he's like, oh shit, I just killed that guy and I've been trying really hard not to do that sort of thing? Because it's like, it's such a savage scene that I just think it took it a step too far. That I was like,
interesting.
Is that going to be a point of contention this whole season, that Matt's now sort of becoming a killer? Because I don't want that.
Yeah. I mean,
so I'd be interested to see how that plays out in future episodes.
Yeah, seeing him turn someone into a human sea is grim, but it's fucking cool at the same time.
This is what I mean. It's like kind of complex because like I loved watching it, but like as soon as I started to think about it more, I was like, oh, I don't know.
But then also, mate, as much as we talk about we're not creators of the show, we're also not doctors. He might just have a really bad neck ache by the next morning. You don't know.
He might just be walking like Batman for a few days,
Yeah, I've seen enough Jackass videos to be like, they should be dead by now. And yeah, he looks all right.
My name is Matt Murdock, and welcome to Jackass. There's the new intro, folks.
One extra added, going back to the first episode, and I totally forgot about it, but it's brilliant. And I know I can't go back to my heaven section. I absolutely loved the shot of some people didn't like it. I loved the sort of moment of Karen too scared to turn around.
Oh, that was brilliant. That was brilliant because she doesn't know who's fallen behind her.
And she spends so long, and it's like, yeah, you would do because you're fucking terrified of what you're holding one dead friend, and one of them might have just kissed the tarmac. Like, worst night out ever.
Worst night at Josie's. 0 out of 5 on TripAdvisor.
But yeah, just really, really good, man. I love that moment.
To say that Deborah Ann Woll doesn't have a lot of screen time in these first 2 episodes, like, that is a phenomenal performance.
Exactly. But again, it goes back to she has had this character for years. Even when she's not had it, she's had her. So to do that, you're just like, you feel the dread for her, and but the brilliance about it is you can see it's not him. You can see who it isn't, but it's like, God, what a horrible experience to have, of just being like, I don't want to turn around. Like, I can't bring myself to do this. It was just, it was fucking brilliant. And as much as, like you said, the sequence starts off not great. To end on that is banging. But yeah. So yeah, your hell section is someone being turned into a human sea. Is that everything? Is that all of your heaven and hells?
Pretty much, yeah. Overall, I think it was a solid start to the series.
Yeah.
It left me with a few concerns, but equally I enjoyed them a lot. It's just fucking good to see Charlie Cox back as Matt Murdock, man.
Yeah,
like,
man.
It's
absolutely.
I think, I'd love to know what people think about sort of the lack of the Daredevil costume in most of these 2 episodes.
Yes.
I'd love to know if that is something that irritates people. Do they want more Daredevil? Do they just like want more, character drama? Like, if this is you, if you have these thoughts, please get in touch and let us know, because that'd be really interesting.
How will they be able to get in touch with us? What masterful miracle method of communications are they going to be able to do it?
Well, dear Nicholas, there are several ways that they could communicate with us. You could email us at daredevilcast@outlook.com, or if you're on the internets and you're on the social medias, you can find us at Daredevilcast on X, Threads, Instagram, TikTok. Message us, DM us, mention us, whatever. And let us know what you think of these 2 episodes. Did you enjoy them? Did you hate them? What did you think about Foggy's death? R.I.P. Foggy Nelson. But if you could leave a review on your podcast provider of choice, that'd be really nice. Helps the show grow. Get more of you in the conversation as Born Again continues weekly. Next episode is just one episode. We won't be back to backing the entire season. So we'll have a little bit more room to pick through all of our thoughts, which is nice. And we've also partnered with The Comic Crush, which is run by my good friend Paul Dunn. So you can find our podcast on there. You can also go comic shopping on The Comic Crush. Who'd have thought it? You could buy Daredevil comics, you buy Avengers comics, you buy DC comics, loads of stuff. You should definitely check that out. This isn't sponsored or anything. We're just sort of partnering with him. But for now, I've been Eamon Jacobs, and this has been
Nick Staniforth. I honestly thought I was going to be like, is he going to not even leave me out? I could go, this has been the Daredevil cast. I'd be like, bye everyone, bye. Me as well. But yeah, I've been Nick Staniforth. Sorry, I have been Nick Staniforth.
You have been Nick Staniforth, yes. But I'm just glad that we're finally able to talk about Born Again, because as we've said, we may or may not have seen the entire season. I've had this in my brain for like 5 days, and I've just been wanting to talk about it. And nobody around me in my life has seen it yet, so it's just been like me and Nick frantically texting each other like, what the fuck?
Or yes, but yeah, can't wait to talk about more of it. Next week's will be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. But yeah, I'll say we leave it there, kid.
All right,
bye.
Night.
Bye. See you in a bit. Bye.
I'm Daredevil. Not even God can stop that now.